How are you, Ian?
I'm good, Rich. I was going to say, how are you? But I saw a little bit ago on Twitter your announcement of the
Yes.
NFL 100 show, and the Chris Collinsworth slide I thought was funny.
Thank you.
I was not expecting the Bill Belichick, not just cameo, but 6 episodes of Belichick. Is that right?
Ian Rapoport, it is accurate, all 6 episodes. And as somebody who has dealt with Belichick and knows his off-podium persona and his love for the game, he is dynamite as the analyst. Dynamite. Top notch.
I can't wait. I mean, I love that stuff anyway, and I was going to watch anyway. But, man, that is going to be awesome. So congrats to you. That is very cool.
Well, it was, again, I said it at the top of the show. It's definitely a top 5 in terms of what I've done in my career. The show is special. The guests who show up, who are on the list, to learn that they're on the list is special. And then they all look at Belichick, and none of them can believe that he's on the set asking them questions and knowing about their careers and the minutia of it, because he is, and just, it becomes apparent again that he has connections to pretty much everybody from the 50s and 60s to the 70s, 80s, and then coaching against them in the 90s and the late 80s and the aughts and the current day. He is the perfect analyst for this show. Perfect.
Awesome. So cool. Cannot wait.
I'm
Good
glad
stuff,
you.
Rich.
Yeah.
Love it.
Hey, well, let's get some good stuff from you here. What's going on with the Cowboys? Why are they waiting on signing players that we know they're going to have to sign? What's going on?
Well, I mean, I think these things, don't exist in a vacuum. And although obviously we know Dallas is sort of prioritizing, they want to do an extension for Dak. We know they at least have had conversations about doing one for Zeke, although it would be 2 years early, similar to Todd Gurley. We know Amari Cooper's on the list. But, let's say receiver. There's several other receivers who, are probably going to get paid. Michael Thomas could get paid at some point. I think Julio Jones is going to get paid. So I think that one probably hasn't get done because Amari's waiting for the others. The Dak deal, I mean, it's maybe a little more concrete, I would say, since we know Carson Wentz got 32 a year. But, a lot of times these deals get done, especially for the Cowboys, before the season, rather than, before the season rather than before training camp. So there definitely is time. This is something they want to do, but it's not like they're on the clock. It's not like there's a deadline yet.
Well, we had Joe Banner on earlier this summer when Carson Wentz got signed by Philadelphia, and he says that the Cowboys are habitually late to sign players that everybody knows that they are going to sign. I mean, this organization inside and out as well. What is their philosophy? Again, Rams went ahead and signed Gurley early, and now the Wentz gets signed early. Why don't the Cowboys do something like that?
I would say they're not always late because you look at Tyron Smith, their star left tackle, locked up for 10 years. Travis Frederick, same way. I mean, they have several core players that they did early. DeMarcus Lawrence, they did really late and probably paid a premium for it. However, he also had the suspension. He had back issues. I think there was a reason for that one. So they have done some players early when it sort of benefits them. The hard thing is going to be, I think there probably was a thought early on that, Dak would take, Dak would take a deal that wasn't that great and he'd kind of save some money for the, I don't think Dak is taking a hometown discount, nor should he, nor should anyone. So I think it's just a matter of everyone knows the Cowboys' priorities and there are good agents involved and they want to make sure that, they actually maximize what they're getting.
Well, I mean, the reason why these conversations are brought up on the outset of a season is because, this is how games get affected and, heads get messed with. Is it possible Zeke holds out? Is it possible he does not show up?
It is possible. I have not heard a firm decision one way or another, but it is definitely possible, and I know, this is something he's considering. The problem is, to think about it is one thing. Fundamentally, philosophically, it absolutely makes sense, just like with Melvin Gordon. it makes sense philosophically. It is another thing when all your friends are practicing, you are not. We're all talking about you, and you're getting fined $40,000 a day. That is some serious stuff. So I think he's considering it, but whether he's actually going to do it, we have not found out definitively.
My NFL media compadre, Ian Rapoport, in the Honda Insider Report here on the Rich Eisen Show. Let's talk Melvin Gordon here. How does this play out? What happens?
Well, the Chargers, similar to the Cowboys, a lot of times do deals right before the season, probably mid to late August. And you talk about a possible Phillip Rivers extension. If that's going to happen, I think that's probably when it would be. Sorry, as I'm checking my text messages as I'm talking to you.
Nice.
The problem with Melvin Gordon is they actually are trying to get something done. They negotiated in June, negotiated in July. They offered him a really nice deal, not quite what he wanted, but a really nice deal. And he's going to take a hard stance and hold out. And we'll see if the Chargers blink. He's a running back, and it's just hard to find a lot of teams that is really, really willing to pay for that.
Well, I mean, we saw what Le'Veon Bell did, and is Melvin Gordon prepared to do something like that? I mean, is that what he is going to do at this stage of his career? He doesn't have the Le'Veon Bell cachet in terms of stats and anything else built up like that. But that's basically it. It's like if you're going to hold out, you got to go the distance, essentially, is what Le'Veon Bell even proved.
Right. Now, I've talked to Melvin Gordon about this specifically. He was a big proponent of, he is a big proponent of kind of taking a hard stance and making sure that not just Le'Veon Bell got paid, but all the running backs of the future. So I think Melvin Gordon supports it, but it's different when you're actually doing it. I think the plan is to hold out. I don't think it's, going to be the kind of thing where he's sitting out the season. Certainly would be stunned by that, because he's in a different situation. He's under contract as opposed to Bell, who was not. But at the very least, at this point, he is pretty serious about it.
Ian Rapoport here on the Rich Eisen Show. Okay, so what about the 40-something quarterbacks? I just had Sean Payton on in hour number one. He's got Breeze towards now on the official 40-plus. Brady's 42.
Yep.
What is the futures for these guys? I mean, could they be playing out the string in 2019? What are you hearing about this?
Yeah, I mean, from what it sounds like, the mindset from these guys is you wait till they come to camp, you see how they are, and you kind of make a decision accordingly. I think Breeze has shown, a couple of times he's taken it right to the end, first with the franchise tag thing, then not last preseason, but two preseasons ago, or 2 off seasons ago, I should say, when, he was basically a free agent and some teams were interested, and then he ended up getting a deal done with the Saints. And you basically take a look at them in camp and you decide if they still have it. And, I think one thing with the Patriots, they've always redone Brady. They have not yet shown that they're going to do that yet. And I think their point is basically, we have you under contract. We don't know how long it's going to be. But it is Tom Brady, so I got to think that something ends up getting done before the season.
And what's your thoughts on Gronk in 2019? Ian, that's been a hot topic on this show and everywhere else lately.
I would say I'm probably not like most people. I think everyone, most people I've talked to, even Patriots people, have said, like, yeah, we don't know, but very possibly he comes back. I'm sort of not of that line of thinking. First of all, he seems to have lost some weight. Second of all, he's enjoying life. And football is very hard. And I think, by the end, Gronk, it was very hard for Gronk. It was very hard. And I'm not sure he wants to be put through that again. I mean, maybe, could I see a situation where he comes back in like November and plays 2 months? I guess that would probably be the only situation I could see. But even still, that's a little bit of a stretch, because how many games are you really getting? And if you're getting the Gronk that you had last year, is that even really worth it, honestly?
So I'm going to ask you the question I keep getting at restaurants or dinner parties and things of that nature whenever I'm around NFL fans, which is like every 2 seconds. Why did the NFL do nothing in regards to Tyreek Hill? based on your reporting and your knowledge and talking to people? Why did they come back zeros?
The closest I can get to the truth, and the NFL doesn't come out and sort of explain this. Aside from the statement we get, the closest I can get is they were not 100% sure he did it. And with the Zeke Elliott thing, I know everybody compares him based on the interviews and the metadata and everything they released at the time. They were very clear in their minds that, it was very clear in their minds that Zeke did it. And I think with, Jaron Reed yesterday, the Seahawks star defensive lineman who got 6 games, they believed he did it. I think with Tyreek Hill, if you listen to the entire 11-minute audio from Hill and his fiance in that Dubai airport, there's even some doubt over whether he did the 2014 incident, let alone, breaking his son's arm, which the fiance essentially admits he didn't do. I just don't think the NFL had any actual proof that Tyreek did it.
So is player player discipline on the table here in the collective bargaining agreement conversations that heated up a bit last week and are still going on, we assume, without a spotlight on it? Ian, what are you hearing about that?
I haven't heard specifically that it is on the table. I would imagine at some point they would discuss it, but as you know, like anything that is discussed is sort of open for trading and horse trading, I would say. I would imagine that they'll at least discuss it. The problem is, do you want to make this one of your stances when it only affects a very, very small amount of players, and those that it does affect were the ones who, unfortunately, a lot of times got themselves in trouble? That's kind of the issue, is do you want to take a strong stance on something that affects maybe 2 or 3 guys every year? That's kind of or maybe less. That's kind of the issue.
All right, so last one for you. What do you think is going to be the story of training camp 2019? We're getting back to work week. What do you think is going to be the overarching conversation coming up before the season?
Oh, man. That's a great question.
Thank you.
I know this. The ones that I will sort of be focusing on, as always, is the quarterbacks. I'm fascinated by the Giants. I mean, Eli probably wins the job, but I wouldn't say 100% sure. The Redskins are really interesting, and the Dolphins are really interesting. There's other quarterback stuff that's kind of going on. But, those battles, as well as, sort of how good Mahomes is and what Carson Wentz looks like. I mean, it's, as always, the quarterbacks are the ones I'm going to be focused on, and that'll kind of be the most fun.
So, on behalf of all fans of Josh Rosen, and hoping he gets a chance and to prove what he can after what happened over the last year, why are the Dolphins interesting? Are you telling me Fitz Magic is going to be given a shot to beat out Josh Rosen after they flipped a 2 for him? Are you saying that is why the Dolphins are interesting, or did I miss another interesting thing about the Dolphins for you?
No, I think that's about right. I think Fitz has a very realistic chance to compete hard for the job and maybe win it. I mean, we'll see what happens, but I do not think it's a situation where Rosen came in and is handed the starting job. They're going to compete. And one thing you know about Fitz, in small pockets, he has played very well.
No, I mean he is indestructible. He's indestructible, and I understand that coaches have to have the outward approach, and also even the true you mean it when you say it. You got to compete, but please, I mean, how do you not find out if Rosen's the guy and you stick him in there in week 5, week 6, and I don't understand. I would not understand that. I wouldn't understand that in a million years. I wouldn't understand that unless you're tanking for Tua. But as you know, in pockets, Fitzmagic wins games too. So
right. He could ruin the tanking if that was the plan. I would say this: if Rosen does not win the job, if he isn't the better player in practice, if he isn't the better player in preseason games, then there's not much of a reason to kind of just put him out there and see what he has. If it's a competition and Fitz wins, then you probably get your answer, at least in the short term. And that obviously is, it's a bad situation for the Dolphins, but at least they know that the next year they'll probably need another franchise quarterback.
Ian, thanks for the time. I know you got to go to Inside Training Camp, on NFL Network. Appreciate it, Ian. Thanks for the call.
right. Thanks for having me, Rich. Enjoyed it as always.
Yeah, right back at you. At Rap Sheet, the one and only Ian Rapoport, NFL Media Group insider and NFL Network compadre of mine.
For more of The Rich Eisen Show, tune to Audience Channel 239 on DirecTV for free on BR Live or download the Rich Eisen Show app.